Justin, do you want to say anything quickly before we introduce everyone?
Yeah, sure. I can just introduce myself. I'm Justin Graceffa. I guess I'm kind of the co-leader of this little group. I worked with Stephanie before on doing Empower Hours, which I guess is kind of how we're billing this a few years ago. And I've continued to do this. And I was a participant in the uh, one of the online programs, and then for the past two summer programs at Stony Brook. So, and I guess I can throw it over to Dexter.
Sure. Hi, my name is Dexter Kennedy. What's important to know about me? I am a 20-year-old college student. I was injured when I was 18, July 4th, 2021. So we're about 2.5 years out now. I also did the two New York programs, and I did my first New York program just over a year after my accident, and like 3 weeks before coming to college. And that was the first time I had actually ever stayed home or stayed anywhere but home since ever, injury or not. But we'll talk more about that as time goes on. I'll pass it off to Bobby Brown.
Yeah. As Dexter just referred to me as, I am in the Empower world known as Bobby Brown. But Rob as what I go by. I was injured July 3rd, 2014 when I was 13 years old. It was a week after my 13th birthday. Um, for the first few years, I was kind of, just on autopilot. I didn't really have much drive to do anything. And luckily, when I was 16, which is I feel like I should save this for later, but I got to go to Empower as a 16-year-old, which was 2 years prior than anybody in the past had. It's usually 18 plus. And yeah, I was a participant in 2017 and 18 when I was 16 and 17 years old. And I was a peer mentor in 2019. And then again, kind of like in like fill-in peer mentor just this past summer, all at the Stony Brook program as well. And yeah, right now I am Dexter mentioned he's a college student. I am a college dropout, but I am training for the Paralympics while trying to figure out what I want to do in that realm. So that's
In what sport?
adaptive surfing. Thank you.
That's in the Paralympics?
I guess so.
I'm happy to go next.
Yeah, Indiana, up to you.
Hi, I'm Indiana, and I have been a wheelchair user since like end of March of 2021. And I had lupus for a long time before, but it was a big change becoming a wheelchair user. And I did a lot of like medical treatment for about a year and a half, even a little bit more, after I had my episode of transverse myelitis, which is why I'm a wheelchair user. And so I went to Empower kind of, I don't know, like on a whim. I found out about it and I had missed the application deadline, but I decided to apply anyway. And I guess like down the line, closer to when the program was going to start, they had some folks drop out. And so I was able to join kind of last minute. And I spent 1 week there with the Montana program. I guess I'll leave it at that and we can talk a little bit more soon.
Awesome. So as you guys can see, there's someone representing each program. We have Montana, New York, and what we will have is the teen program this year. And also all three have also done our Pathways program, which we'll also talk about in a little bit, which was a kind of a nice way to get involved and get a taste of our program. And then we also have Michelle and Joe, who are also past participants on here. So you guys are also welcome to chime in at any time. All right, so how about we'll get started. Tell us a little bit about what kind of like drew you into Empower, like what made you want to apply to the program? what did you feel like was kind of missing, and what did you think Empower, like, what were you hoping to get out of Empower?
I can
I'm
start.
happy to jump in first.
Yeah, you go ahead, Indiana.
Okay, so because I became a wheelchair user during the pandemic, I did my, like in the hospital, I was in a room by myself. I did inpatient rehab for 2 months, and I was completely like in a room by myself, isolated. We could leave just to cross the hall to do physical therapy, and then you were back in your room by yourself. And so during that whole time, I am so grateful for the internet and for social media, because I, kind of got to see how other folks, got to live their lives after becoming wheelchair users, but I hadn't really met very many other wheelchair users. And so I found out about Empower, and I am not athletic. I am not outdoorsy. I am such a square nerd, but I was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm gonna do this. I've got to meet other people. And I'm so glad that I did, because I felt very comfortable, even though I wasn't outdoorsy, and I had a lot of fun. And it really was just, my main goal was just to meet other wheelchair users. And I really loved that experience. And I also got to meet other women who were wheelchair users, which, sometimes when I was looking at websites and things online, there was a lot of content geared towards men. And so it was great to meet other women who were wheelchair users.
Yeah, I think I can jump right off of that one. Steph, you kind of mentioned, what was lacking, what we thought might have been lacking prior to our time at Empower. And for myself, I think I mentioned I was 16 when I got to take part in the program. And for the 3 years from the time I was injured to that time of getting to go to Empower, I mentioned how I was kind of just on cruise control. I was letting the people in my life take care of me. I wasn't, really actively wanting to live a more independent life. I was kind of just ready to accept what had happened to me and not kind of strive for anything more. And getting to go to Empower was that first eye-opening experience for me after having a disability that allowed me to realize there are people out there with similar injuries to myself, who are living independent lives, whatever that looks like for each person. And so yeah, it was good. It was definitely that initial at 16 years old, especially not thinking there was a life ahead of me. Getting to go to Empower really allowed me to realize there still was.
Yeah. Mine's not too dissimilar from that. I was doing outpatient, therapy for a little while after my injury. And kind of after my injury, I wasn't sure what to do, but my whole thing was like, okay, I've got to just get to college and I'll figure it out from there. So my PT recommended Empower, and she's like, it's active. There's a lot of social people. I think you'll, really, benefit from having an experience of like going out and kind of being in a new situation. Because I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. This will be my trial run before college to figure out if I can manage things, and like, can I even, do things without my parents. And it was a huge catalyst in me feeling capable in order to do college. Once I did the program, I was like, oh man, okay, this is possible. I can see how this can work. And it opened up a lot of personal opportunity within me. And also it was just kind of, as Indiana said, I didn't know anyone in a wheelchair before that, especially anyone around my age. I just saw people in the therapy gym, but that was about it. So this was my first real chance to actually talk with people face to face, have genuine kind of friendships and whatnot, and meeting people, and that made a big difference as well. in order to just be able to have some personalized connections where I could ask the questions that, I couldn't necessarily ask to my PTs or, my parents. So it was very freeing.
Yeah, and I would just say for myself, and I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a C5 quad, and I've been injured for a little over 16 years, and I was definitely kind of late coming to the Empower game. I'd known Kerry, one of the other directors, for years, and had known about Empower, but never really wanted to do it. And kind of just got to a point where I was, looking for a change, looking to do something new, and Empower was there, and it's probably the best thing I've done for myself, since my injury. So, yeah, and I guess I'll ask the next question. This is a pretty easy one, but what activity from Empower are you still doing now?
I can start that one off. I at Empower, one of the spectacles of it among the many is Surf Day, which is pretty self-explanatory. Everybody gets to head to the beach. This is I went to the Stony Brook program, so we go to 5 minutes from where I live, right in Lido Beach. I live in Long Beach, New York. And it's just, yeah, a great experience. Everybody who attends Empower, all the participants get their chance to get in the water. And I know for a fact a lot of people don't think that they would ever have that chance after their injury at all. And so, yeah, I mean, even myself, I broke my neck surfing. That's how I was injured. And then I had done like one surfing event prior to Empower, a similar kind of setup in a way. Um, I will say Empower does it the best. They always do. But I'll tie it back to the question. The thing that I'm still doing is surfing. I had my rough few years with it where I hated the water, I hated surfing, I hated everything about it. It changed my life, it ruined my life, quote unquote. At least that's what I had thought. And yeah, getting to go to Surf Day at Empower and do, program here and a program here, allowed me to realize that I can still surf and I can then now take it to a competitive level if I wanted to, which I'm now doing, which is awesome. So, and I never thought that, like, I always loved surfing prior to my injury, after my injury, even though I had my battles with it. So yeah, I'm happy to be able to do it as in the capacity that I am.
Great. I can take it after this. I'll go quick two version. Like, I don't know if this technically counts as activity, but I think it's important nonetheless. Emptying my leg bag, that's something that I could not do for myself at all before Empower, and I worked with an OT. And we brainstormed some solutions, and it has made my life, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because it's made my life incredibly different and more free. I now am like able to spend basically, once someone gets me out of bed, I basically can do the whole day by myself. Before that, I needed like an afternoon aid or something. So I don't know, that it's, you're doing something, that's an activity of some sort. But the
Definitely.
more fun recreational one is tennis, which I'm being a little locked on, but I was able to get the college to make the courts accessible here. And I actually, he's like the former assistant coach of the team. I don't know, it's complicated, but anyway, he's working on getting me a tennis chair. But this was something I started at Empower. I played in high school. I started my sophomore year, so I really only had 2 years because I was in COVID my junior year. But I loved it, and then I got injured. I was like, well, crap, I can't do that, until I came to Empower, and I learned, of course, you can do that. So we troubleshooted a bunch of things there. How to grip the racket, kind of what was the right setup, whether it should be like a power chair or a sports chair. And then I took that and I kind of was able to talk with some people that I knew on campus. And so now we're working on kind of getting that together and started again once it gets, to the point where there's not snow in the courts. But yeah, it's been good.
You're muted, Indiana.
Can I ask you, Dexter, how were the courts not accessible and how did you get them to be accessible?
So you still can get there. You should not get there in a manual chair. You should get there in a power chair. It goes like down this massive hill, then levels out, and then it was like this crappy dirt path, that then like the entrance, there was just like about like a, I don't know, maybe 6 inch to 1 foot stone like grounding. And then I advocated like for that to be one of the kind of summer projects for them to take care of. And so what they did was they repaved the path, put in a disability parking spot right in front of it, and then took those stones out. So they actually did a pretty good job there. I've got my qualms about the rest of the college, but they did a great job there. And
Baby
then as soon
steps.
as I figure out the tennis chair, there's like a shed right next to it, which they're gonna let me store the chair in. So I can just have whoever
That's
is
awesome.
me take it out. No, it's a good setup. It's really great.
Nice. I can chime in. Mine actually is a lot like yours, Dexter. The skill that I was really happy that I learned was to be able to cath in my chair. And that has given me like more flexibility. I live in New York City and, it's, even if a bathroom is accessible, it's very small and, just being able to like fly home to visit my family in Texas, it's allowed me to be more comfortable when I travel. So that was kind of like the skill that I learned. And then my favorite thing that I did, which I think was the original question, was we went swimming in Montana and I hadn't been swimming before. And it was such a cool experience. Like I said, I'm not sporty or anything. So I didn't have high hopes. I was like, gonna do awesome, but I did. And I had a lot of fun. And so it just, I think in a way also kind of like opened my mind to retry a whole bunch of things that, maybe even before my injury I didn't do. And now I'm like looking for, oh, where can I go swimming here in the city? And just kind of like opened my mind and showed me that I can still try new things and discover new things about myself.
It's great. And just for me, my biggest thing that I took or got from Empower that I do every day is I like to paint. I did that for pretty much the first time there, and you can see my paintings in back. I try and paint every day, and it's become a big part of my life.
Thanks.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. So I think you guys have touched a lot on it, but there's a lot of different aspects of our program. So, there's the other participants, there's the peer mentors, there's the sporting activities, there's the education piece, there's rehab counseling. There's a lot. Would you guys want to share kind of what your favorite aspect of the program is and kind of why?
I'll hop in early because I know the other two are going to touch on it at some point, and I want to have the easy way out. Community. It's I never feel as good about myself as I do when I'm with Empower people. And I am at college where you can feel pretty good about yourself in the social, and I love the people here, but I oh the way that's like to specify it is I always feel as capable when I'm at Empower. There's just like you figure it out, whatever it is. And I've really been able to like take that and run with it. There's so many things that me and my family are like will deal with on campus, and we're like, how the F is this going to happen? And we just take the same Empower mentality of like, I don't know, but we'll do it. And then like I remember so I also had not a surfing but a diving accident into the beach. And my first year at Empower, we went to the pool, but not the beach because it was shorter because it was still coming out of COVID. So we went to the pool. And I'm like, I don't really want to do this. I'm not really up to this. And everyone was like, okay, that's fine, but this is going to be like the most supportive place you can do this, and like we're here for you, and this is going to be where you're going to be able to do the things that challenge you. And I was like, fine. So I got it, and I was so glad I did. Um, Even though it was freezing, but I was very glad I did it. And then same thing happened for surf day. I went, I managed to, there was a little drama this summer with me. A bee from hell, which is a longer story. But anyway, my arm got a little funky, and so I was like, "There's no shot medically I'm going to be cleared to go in the ocean." It was just there was a big like bump that we could not figure out for the life of me. It was the weirdest thing. Nothing to do with Empower, just a freak of nature moment. Um, but I still went to the beach, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go to the beach, and I'll, kind of like I'll just sit, I'll wash, and then kind of people hit me with the, this is the time and place to do it. We support whatever. I'm like, no, it's okay. And then I'm like, crap, I'm gonna do this. And so we figured out, we like duct taped a garbage bag around my arm to keep it safe, and we got me on the board, and it was once again like one of the most liberating feelings of kind of conquering, your trauma and your fears. And it was absolutely amazing, and there was no way I could do that if I didn't feel as comfortable and as safe with the people around me as Empower makes you feel. Because there was, even going to the beach that day, there was no way I was doing it. So to have the community that allows you to do it with that mindset, it's unmatched, I would say.
Yeah, I remember like getting to the beach and Dexter pretty adamantly being like, no, no, I'm not really feeling it. Not really feeling it. And then I remember seeing him get in the water and we were all like, yeah, Dexter, like, oh my God, it was such a good moment. For me, I think one of the like my favorite aspect overall was the peer mentors. I think I mentioned a few times already, I didn't have much experience um with disability after my injury at all, let alone before. I was young. I was a kid. I didn't yeah, exactly. Not a lot of um um oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Not a lot of interaction with people with disability after my injury before Empower, and then getting to go to Empower and see the peer mentors living these independent lives that I truly thought were out of reach for me at at a young age because of my injury. So yeah, it was the peer mentors, and I think that ties in very well with that overall sense of community that the whole program, each little individual aspect comes together and makes it as special as it is. We talk about drinking the Empower Kool-Aid. It truly is my favorite saying, because you do. Once you go there, it's hard to put into words what that means until you're a part of it.
I'm happy to jump in. So I'm going to touch a little bit on what both speakers right before me have said. I also, I don't know why I feel like I should say this, right? But again, I am not outdoorsy. I am not sporty. I did not go out and do like adventure things. And for me, that included riding a bicycle. Like I did not ride bicycles before. And that was one of the activities that we did at Empower in Montana. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna like sit this out. And folks were like, okay, okay, are you sure? Are you sure? I was like, yeah, I don't know. Finally, like, well, why don't you just try it? And so I did. And it still wasn't my thing. But I was like really glad that I tried it. And I never felt like pressure to do it. I didn't feel pressure to like stay. I got on it. I like went maybe 2 minutes and I was like, okay, that's enough. Thank you. And folks were like understanding and they giggled and I laughed. I was like, all right, I tried it. It wasn't my thing. It's fine. And everybody was really supportive and understanding. So I say that because I normally wouldn't have thought like, oh, I'm gonna like go do this like outdoorsy camp kind of thing. But there's a place for everyone, right? Like it's what you feel comfortable doing in terms of your level of adventure seeking interests, or like if you're just going to make friends, if you just want to go and learn like basic skills. My skill was to learn how to cath in my chair or try to transfer without a transfer board, right? So it's like a full range. You can kind of customize what you work on and kind of how adventure seeking and brave you want to be. And then the other aspect that I really, really liked was the counseling piece. And it was the first time that I had been in a space where everyone was a wheelchair user. And, we got to really ask questions or express how we were feeling, express hopes and dreams. And that sounds really cheesy, but it's not. I mean, it was really powerful to just be in a space where everyone kind of got it. We all have different injuries, different, we live in different places, we're at different points in our life, but it was really just right off the bat, like such a sense of community and support. And the person who was doing the counseling piece was also a wheelchair user. And so it was just like I can't even explain it. It was for somebody who talks so much, I really don't know how to explain it. Just that sense of community and like such a safe space to ask all types of questions or to share, really the ups and downs of our experience and to feel heard and understood was really, really powerful. And that was my favorite part.
I just wanted to double on something you were saying, Indiana. It creates that space for everyone to come together and talk about their hopes and dreams, really, and the things that they still want to do in life, and the things that they might, prior to going to Empower, think they have no chance of doing anymore. I know I was that, and I know Empower really opened that, created that mindset for me, or allowed for me to help develop that within myself. And so, yeah, I can say it 18 times or till I'm blue in the face, but yeah, it just allows for you to have the hope and knowing that there's still a life out there you can live and create for yourself.
And to kind of triple down, I remember my first program, it was only 1 week long, because once again, it was coming out of COVID, when normally it's 2 weeks long. And at the end of it, like, I think it was 10 people got Empower tattoos. And I was thinking, what are these psychopaths doing? It's been 1 week. And you're putting something that is permanently on your body after a 1 week program. But does it, that show exactly, yes, look at Bobby Brown. That's just it. It's so impactful after experiencing it for just 1 week of your life. You're willing to have it be a part of the rest of your life. And I think that's an incredibly powerful part of it.
Yeah, I would just echo the sentiment of all of them. Said the same thing. I can't roll up my sleeve or else I'd show you my Empower tattoo. But and I would again just yeah, the support and community you get. I was there that day when Dexter was surfing, and I did not want to surf either. I'm also not outdoorsy or sporty and definitely don't like the cold. But through a combination of every other participant kind of just ribbing me and keep you going, and the all the volunteers encouraging you to do it. I just reluctantly was like, all right, fine, we'll do it. And I was very happy I did. Very, very glad I did. It was, fun for while I was doing it. I don't necessarily need to do it again, but it was definitely enjoyable, and I'm glad I did do it. And so I guess the next question that I'll ask, which I think this is kind of a big one, a lot of you might have questions about, is what was your biggest hesitation when it came to the caregiving, or just being taken care of, doing your routines, all that sort of maintenance stuff that might come easy to you at home, but might be scary in a setting that you've never been in before.
I think I'll start off. You just mentioned the things that are scary at first, and I think the main thing that is for a lot of people is you know not having your family take care of you anymore. For myself, it was my family for those 3 years, taking care of me, doing really everything, medically and uh living, really everything under the sun they were doing for me. And so it was scary, to one, know that it was going to be um random people. And I think, well, yeah, I think that was the main thing. Just people who, yeah, they're qualified and they're amazing people. And when you get there, you realize that. But until then, it's that sense of unknowing that is really hard to kind of deal with, especially when you don't have any other experience outside of that. So yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same. I'm an only child. My parents were, I was still a teenager, so parents were still very protective, are still very, very protective. Um, but we had only had family as care. I think we had just started using an overnight person, but like we were so vigilant about everything. Like especially at the beginning, it was every 2 hours for the turns. I had a pressure wound at the beginning, so we were so attentive to everything. We were so like, if it goes to a minute over, then we're like freaking out. And at Empower, both my parents came the first day, and we talked to the head resident, and like instantly they're like, okay, thank God, this is someone competent. This is someone who knows what they're doing. I'm still friends with her to this day. I was trying to convince her to come to London with me. So if you need a mark of like how good the care is, it's good enough to travel with you internationally. It was I felt very supportive. And even when I did have a bit of a health scare, I had mentioned that freak arm thing that happened. I still felt like, okay, there are people who understand, everyone was attentive, everyone wanted to make sure that like I was getting the proper care I needed. And it didn't detract from the program. As I said earlier, we figured it out. We made like an arm stand. We did a quick run to an urgent care to get it checked out. We did the proper proceedings, and it didn't impede the program. And I still had a wonderful time, even though it was like this like what is happening moment. And I think once again, like even to have a what is happening moment and still like be having a great time, just once again, like that's the mark of the program.
I didn't really have time to get worried because I came off the wait list. So I just kind of like said a prayer, like tried to pack as much as I could and hope for the best. I think that I just kind of had to have a moment with myself. I was like, all right, if I can't do something, I'll just be honest with the people there, right? Or if I need help, and then kind of hope for the best. But as soon as I got there, I really was put at ease, right? Like you see how supportive everybody is. From the moment you get in, right, you kind of do like a little intake. And so you have conversations of like, is there anything that you need help with specifically, or what time do you do this? Is there, like, let us know that there's constantly just people around you that make you feel comfortable and sharing if you do need something. So I didn't have time really to get worried. I was just like, I just got to trust myself that I'll speak up if I do need help. And that's it. And we'll just figure it out as we go.
Yeah. I would just say too, for me, the caregiving was definitely a big hesitation of mine, but people there kind of, put a little bit of hope in my faith back in humanity a little bit, especially after that first year. And I, got very close with a couple of my caregivers. I'm still in touch with one that helped with me last year and one that I met 2 years ago. So it's, definitely it's a good place to build both community with, your other people with your injury, and also the people who are volunteering their time to be there to help take care of you.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Before Justin and I keep asking questions, I wanted to open it up to see if anybody here has any specific questions about anything that's been said, anything you're wondering about with the program.
I'll just say, Robert and Dexter, it was fun to hear more of your backgrounds that I didn't know about when we were out there. And Indiana, it is really fun to listen to you being way out of your comfort zone. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Matt, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'll put my video on here. It's somebody, I think it was Indiana, maybe mentioned about counseling. Can I, what does that involve? I think she said there was somebody is it a professional counselor or what's it? Can somebody elaborate on that part of the program?
Yeah, I'd be happy to start, and then maybe I can let Stephanie and others speak like more substantively about accreditation and things like that. But my understanding is that yes, she's a counselor, and we met multiple times throughout. So I went to the 1 week program, and we met multiple times, and it was just like the participants, right? So we were all wheelchair users, and so was the counselor. And the same, I think, in the weekend, I forgot what it's called, but the weekend that we just did after camp, she also was a wheelchair user, and it really was kind of like an open space, right? Like it was the first time for me, I can speak to my experience, right? It was the first time that I'd really been around other wheelchair users. And it was the first time, for example, I could express like I'm so grateful for my family and I'm so grateful for my friends, and everybody has been so supportive. At the same time, like there can be some challenges, right, that come with that, and like wanting to try something, and maybe your family is more hesitant to let you try, or maybe they're more worried about me doing some things than even I was, and feeling a little bit guilty, right? It's like a space where you can really open up. And I felt just it was like a very welcoming space. I found that, there are other people who expressed things that I was feeling, and I think I expressed things that they had felt. And then we could kind of talk about how we dealt with it too, right? So like, oh yeah, my family was similar. Like one thing we did was, and then they kind of like told me how they dealt with it, or, we did like a 1 hour trial and then 2 hours. And, you know, it was just nice to feel that I wasn't the only person feeling that way. And then two, it was helpful to see how others had kind of dealt with a similar situation and what they learned and getting their advice.
I guess that helps. I've spoken with Stephanie and Justin prior to this meeting, but so I may be the longest term wheelchair user here. This May will be 41 years. So I was injured in May of 83 at the age of 6. So, and it was a lot of details that's not worth getting into tonight, but I never had that type of support
Yeah.
growing up. My parents were told that when I had my injury that I was one of a very small handful of kids in the entire state of Iowa with my injury level at that age. And there was no psychological support. So 40 years on, this is kind of coming to the surface now.
I will say one thing, like I know in my group there were people who had been injured for different years, right? And there there were certainly people who had been injured for much, much longer. And my understanding is they had been multiple times to the program, or they were back as like a peer mentor. And even then, right, like new things happen. Your relationships grow and change. And so my understanding was like every time that they come, right, there's something kind of new, whether it was a relationship with their child or a spouse or a parent. There's always something. I feel like they mentioned there was always something that they felt they got out of it. But I defer to Stephanie and others who want to chime in.
Yeah, I was just curious about that part, because I'm looking at I've applied for the 2-week program at Stony Brook just because of Stephanie said and Justin said that, with the Montana program that, by the time Friday comes around, people are just starting to settle in and they wish they could stay longer, so.
Yeah, definitely.
I can speak to that. So I have done only the Stony Brook program, but the first the first two times I was a participant, and then I'll tie it back into the counseling as well. I was a participant for the entire 2 weeks at Stony Brook. And then the peer mentor that first time I was also there for the 2 weeks. And even with the full 2 weeks, like Steph and Indiana were saying, after that first week, you're kind of just getting into the flow of things. You're just getting, like really solidifying those connections that you've been building all week. And so that extra week really allows for that the building of connections and um to go back to the counseling, also there's more group time in the Stony Brook session. And I don't know if Indiana touched on it, but as well as the group setting, where you kind of are all together and you can talk about whatever comes up, you also have your one-on-one sessions that are with the same counselor who is in the group session. So let's say something comes up in the group session and you're not fully comfortable bringing it up in that time, for whatever reason, you can then, when you have your one-on-one session with Gabs is her name. I gotta call her by her name. Gabs, she's the best. She's literally the best. And I was very advertent of talking about my feelings prior to getting to speak with her, and she kind of just opens the floor for you to talk about whatever you're comfortable with in a in a safe space. And yeah, I wasn't ready to speak in the group settings. I don't know. um I think everybody has their own kind of journey with speaking about emotions in that setting. But to go back to what I was saying, that one-on-one space with Gabs is also really beneficial and special, and yeah, helps a lot.
I agree. I feel like you guys covered the gambit. I don't really have anything to add, but yeah, I'd say extra time is nice because I did New York twice, but the first time was only a week because it was coming out of COVID. And it's nice. Once you get there, you'll want to spend time with these people. And yeah, for both group therapy and individual counseling, in different ways, I say really, really do make a difference and allow you to move forward in different ways. It's good.
And nobody's forcing you either. Like nobody ever forces anything out of you. It all happens naturally and in a speed that is comfortable for each individual person there. Like I think Indiana touched on it. When you get there, you do an intake. You're asked all these questions about what you're wanting to work on, what you want to get out of the program, and everything like that. And so, whatever that looks like for you is what it'll be, and whatever it looked like for Dexter and Indiana and myself, it's each individualized and special for the person that's doing it. And then yeah, you get to work with your therapist, your counselor, and the entire and everyone else there in those goals. Even when you're not in physical therapy, even when you're not in your one-on-one counseling or your group counseling. It's all, everything is just happening at the entire, like, always. You're always working on a goal, whether it be a mental goal or a physical goal or yeah. So it's a special place for sure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That helps.
Yep.
Mary Ann, did you have a question? I think I saw your hand raised. Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right, I will keep asking questions if people are up for a little bit more.
Steph, I just wanted to mention one thing, if you don't mind me jumping in. Something else that I did that I don't think we'd mentioned was there was somebody there who also had expertise with like adaptive like tools and stuff. So like one of the things I was able to do, I've got like some issues with my hand, was look at adaptive keyboards and the text to type programming. So if there is something, you know, that could help you that maybe you haven't had a chance to see, that was an opportunity that I had, right? To like try out the word to type and a different kind of adaptive mouse and things like that. And there was also like an intimacy session that I thought was very interesting. And it was something that I had been curious about and kind of been looking into, but it wasn't really something I'd spoken with my family at all or with my doctors really. So it was another opportunity and a kind of like a safe space to get information or learn where I could get more information. I thought that would drop that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Chrissy, did you?
Hi,
Sure.
hi, I'm Christy Beltramo, and I work as an occupational therapist, and I've applied to be a residential aide in the Montana program. And I was just curious if those of you who have participated have certain things that you kind of wish that new people that are coming to this program as care providers that you wish we would know ahead of time that maybe wasn't covered in trainings for them.
I think that's a really good question. One thing, I think the only thing I could say to it is that Empower as a whole, Steph, Carrie, Jess, Liz, the founders, everyone who makes it happen, they all do an amazing part in kind of getting everyone up to speed, I guess, is what I should say. And so I know that the people that I worked with, I never had like this like thought of, oh wow, I wish they would have known this, or I have to explain this so many times. I never had that thought when I was at Empower, but I can say that I did when I had been in one. I've had some frustrating times in inpatient therapy, and I've also had some frustrating times at outpatient therapy. Not to say that you don't get frustrated at Empower. You get frustrated when you're working towards goals. If you are having trouble with them, but it's not directly connected with the person that you're working with. I don't think that I ever had an instant. Yeah, no, I could say for sure I didn't have an instance where it was like, oh, there's more that they need to know before they were here or something. No way.
I agree. I feel like it's a really safe space to communicate, right? Like if something doesn't feel right, you could be like, oh, actually, I don't do it this way, or I'm worried about this. Like I felt as a participant very comfortable speaking up if I had a question or if I was concerned about something or needed something. And I didn't feel like it was I mean, I completely like can speak to the level of professionalism and care that they provide, but there's also an additional step, right? I didn't feel like, oh, here's a nurse who like came to help me do this. It was much more interactive, more engaging, because when you're doing activities, they're doing it too, right? And so it really was like building a a community, more than just like it wasn't just a caretaker relationship. These are folks who are also there when we went to a baseball game, or also there when we went to do some of the sporting activities. And so I felt very comfortable if I did have a question or, want to raise a flag or something, I felt very comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I would just say too, and not that it was an issue while I was there, but if you're going to be a caregiver there, just patience and understanding, really. It's kind of the name of the game, I think, and everybody there just that's they all seem to have that kind of without question. So
Yep, agreed. Once again, you guys got it. Just listening. Each one of us is gonna have some slightly different routine. So just kind of being prepared to do a couple of the very similar things in slightly different ways. But I always felt supported and comfortable with the people that were working with me. Right out the gate, honestly. So yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Christy. That was a great question. We are hitting the hour mark soon, so wanted to give some people some more time if they'd like to have a talk at all. Any questions? But if not, maybe if we just want to go around one more time and just kind of sum up everything and just anything else you feel like you would have wanted to know prior to applying to the program.
I do have one good question. I think is good. How would you describe the vibe at Empower? Geez, is that a stumper? I didn't think that would be a
No,
stumper.
I was trying, it goes back to kind of what we were saying before. It's hard to explain it and put it into words, especially when vibe being such like just like an overarching kind of word. Like the
Yeah.
vibe is amazing. The vibe is special. The vibe is beautiful. The vibe is family. The vibe, like I can use
That's the
some,
answer I was looking for.
yeah, I think it's like the vibe is so many different things. And I think the main, yes, welcoming, it's a perfect word to describe it. I think that's like that initial like feeling you get when you get there is like, wow, this is one of the most welcoming groups of people that I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with and getting to be a part of. Um and yeah, the vibe is spectacular. The vibes are great.
The best place to be.
Exactly.
Fun family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's nice because since so many of us have a shared experience, right? I think that you also get like into deeper or more fun or more like interesting conversations faster, right? Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just, I mean, I felt like very comfortable asking, like, I had an ostomy and somebody asked me about that. And I was like, here's the good and the bad. And then tell me about like what you do with your cathing situation. And I want to hear the good and the bad. And it's like a very safe space, but in a way that felt very natural. It didn't feel like, okay, I don't know. It didn't feel like I don't even know how to describe it, right? It just felt like, oh, you get it. And like, I have to go cath or I had an accident or let me tell you this story. And it just felt like super, super safe and like an accepting place. And people have different personalities and different interests and different experiences, but everybody was just kind of like up for a good time and up to like learn more about themselves and the people that they're with. And I don't know, that's a rare find, I think, to like genuinely get to know people and so quickly. Um, but it was just like, oh, we've all got our thing and we've all got to figure out how to work around this thing and let's do it together. And I don't
I
know,
think
it was really nice.
just you saying, like, you calling it, that's just a thing. I think when you're at Empower,
Mhm.
it's just a
Yep.
thing. Like, oh, you have to cath, just a thing. Oh,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
can really get into it. Like, oh, you had a bowel accident, just a thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you were like, you spilled your like your bag spilled all over you. Just a thing. Like it's like you don't have to worry about. I know for me, I keep bringing it up. I was in high school when I first, or I had just finished seventh grade, so I was getting ready to move on up to high school, and I was never. I couldn't have fathomed the idea of being like saying to my friends, "Oh, I just had an accident. I just pissed myself," or "Oh, I just crapped my pants at the right like at 14 years old." Like that 15 years old, it's embarrassing until you get to Empower. Then it's funny. Then it's just a thing. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody, we all have our own war stories.
exactly.
Yeah, it's you. I feel like you don't get as comfortable as quickly with any other group. Like, no one talks about pee mishaps, poop mishaps, sex mishaps. Like, you get into
Mhm.
anything and everything that you don't feel comfortable talking to anyone else about. And you can just like, uh, it took a couple hours to like open up my deepest insecurities to these people. It was just straight to the bit, and then it was, but it's not like, oh, here's this deep, heavy thing that's happening. It's just like I'm talking with someone about like, oh, how do you pump your gas? Like it's just so smooth and simple, and it's just very comfortable. You feel very safe at Empower.
I just have to say, you said it perfectly, Dexter, because when you talk about like having to go to the bathroom, whether it be a catheter, whether you have a super pubic, whatever it is, if for people who don't understand that, it is this deep thing. It's this like, oh my God, wow. Like, or they feel bad for you kind of thing. Like, and it's like, no, this is just like, yeah, it's difficult. Don't get me wrong. I'll admit, yeah, it's difficult. I can't do pee the way you pee anymore, but like, it's not like it's not like you have to feel bad kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
think at Empower, I don't, like nobody feels bad for you. As like blunt as that sounds, nobody feels bad for you in like the most loving way possible.
Yeah, definitely. Loving and supportive way
Yeah,
possible.
exactly.
Yep.
Well, you guys summed up everything so perfectly. So thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you guys in the audience for coming and spending time with us and learning about our program. We hope you learned some stuff and feel a little bit more confident and a little bit more interested in applying. Our applications are open for all three of our programs. Montana is going to be in June 19th to 15th. New York will be July 14th to the 27th. And Rhode Island's going to be our first ever teen program, and that's August 11th to the 17th. As well as this spring, we're going to be doing our Pathway series where we just have one day of events over the weekend. We're doing 4 of them. What are you saying, Lori? Sorry. Oh, she's going to all 3. So if you want to meet Lori, she'll be at them. So we're doing
Hi,
adaptive.
Lori. Nice
You
to
want
see you.
you want to meet her. You want to meet her.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
We're doing
you
a
will.
speaking event, a art like museum and brewery tour day. We're doing a dinner, and we're doing yoga. So
Can I
it's
ask
really nice.
when the sorry, Steph, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Can I ask when the art one is? When that is?
Yeah, I should have this pulled up.
I think it's
Oh,
in May,
May
right?
sorry.
19th.
If
I've
I
got
would
it
have
right
known, I
here.
wouldn't have put you on the spot.
May 19th, I think.
There we go, May 19th.
Cool. Thank you, Indiana.
That's
Yeah,
the art, urban travel, and brews.
Sick. I heard
The
cruise and
dinner.
I
Are
was
we
like,
making the food
I-
like you did at Empower, or
Yeah, cooking the
Okay.
food. So it's gonna be like a whole cooking like class.
nice?
Yeah. So I think it's a really nice way to get a little taste of our program. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can email me. All of our information's on our website. If you would want to speak to anyone specifically or didn't feel comfortable in a group setting, I think the 3 of them would be happy to set up a time with you to talk. So just shoot me an email and check out our Instagram and our Facebook page. We usually post a lot of our program updates on that, as well as anyone that put their email in the box. I'll be happy to add you to our mailing list so you can get all of our updates. But our applications are open, they are rolling admission, so I would get your applications in as soon as you can. Thank you guys so
We
much.
hope to see you guys there.
yes.
Christy, if you have any questions about resonating and being a therapist as well, I can answer any questions for you about that as if you'd like.
Great. Thanks, Lori.
Awesome.
Thank
How
you,
would I get in
everyone.
touch with you?
Reagan Marina had no questions. Huh?
Lori, you could throw your email in this chat so she can write it down.
I'll do my best. I'm one of the older res aides, so I will do my
Oh,
best.
good.
Try to-
You've got this. You click chat and you type it in.
Thanks, Bobby.
Text you the directions, Lori, if I have to.
Perfect.
Love you, Lori.
Love you too. All right, let me see if I can
Thank you
figure
for
it.
coordinating this session.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
It's always so nice to hear from all of you, and you guys
I
are
know
so-
these are like the little like things that get us through till the next program.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I was having not a great day prior to this, and now I just feel like
Turn
I'm
it
like,
around.
cool. Yeah, just a little. Yeah, it just the energy, it just revamps you.
Even
It's
over
true.
here,
We,
same thing. I was
we
talking
need
about
an, we
feeling
need
your
an
presence.
empowered touch base every quarter.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's why these new, I keep forgetting the names, outings,
Pathways.
the
Pathways.
days. That's why these are great too. So
Yeah.
I love that that you guys are expanding. It's amazing. It makes me happy.
Mhm.
Lots of growth this year.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get some more virtual stuff happening too.
Yeah.
I still like have
Yeah.
all the years overlap too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool to like see the merging of everyone kind of thing. Yeah.